Hi, good morning. Whichever day of the time of the day you're watching this podcast of Entrepreneurship Unplugged, it's my pleasure to tell you that whichever way you look at this particular show that's going to come up shortly, you will understand the importance of being disorganized because that leads to the method of organizing. So, a disorganized business getting into organized mode and organized processes becoming a way of life is today's entrepreneur whom we are going to unplug. Good morning, everybody. Greetings of the day, greetings of the month. The festivities have started beginning for sure in India and abroad. This is Suresh Menon, and it's my pleasure and my honor to have the gentleman, none other than Piyush Bhatia, with me on this absolutely unplugging show. Welcome, Piyush.
Yeah, thank you, Suresh. It's my privilege to be on your podcast.
As somebody, I know about the background, is somebody who ran an disorganized family business in Akola,
Right.
iron and steel, and scaled and kept on scaling to getting into the process of getting into the corporate towers at Merrill Lynch and getting into digitalization or getting a view of that for 10, 14 years. Do you attribute your presence today, which we will come to it shortly, how much is disorganized business, which is scaling up, and how much has understanding digitalization 20 years ago, how have this helped carve you as the autopilot that you are? And I'm going to talk about autopilot shortly, but let's leave with the word autopilot right now and go back to Piyush. Over to Piyush.
Yeah. So, Suresh, as I was, reading one book in which it was mentioned that as an individual, what really frustrates you, and being a part of a joint family of four uncles and my dad leading a business of iron and steel manufacturing in Akola, I always used to get frustrated looking at the way the business was being managed. At the same time, me being a very small member in the family or youngest member in the family, I could not say much or contribute much or change the way things function. But I used to feel very, very strongly about the way the business was disorganized. At the same time, we were growing. The business was scaling up from one factory to three factories in Akola to an office in Nariman Point 45 years back. So we are in 2024 to a 3 BHK flat in Prapadevi. We were growing like anything. But this thing was pinching me always that how disorganized this business is. So much can be done. So that has really helped me, and I can say that urge to solve that problem has helped me to be completely process oriented, in business and make sure that business runs on its own without the interference of the owner.
Wow.
And then you talked about digitalization, and as I've been seeing along in so many years, most of the business owners say that my new customers come from reference. And when I ask them, do you have a system to generate leads for your business? And they say no. And let me share with you an anecdote. In 2004, when I started BM English Speaking Institute, it was my first year, first batch, first participant, Vishal Adrehari told me that, sir, you are spending on Mumbai Mirror ads, you are running pamphlets, you are doing so many things. But, our business will require continuous new fresh leads. And can I set up a website for you? In 2004, it was okay, fine. It was something very new, as AI is kind of new today. So I said yes, and he set up a 4 by 5 page website. And after 2 months, he says, "Sir, इसका SEO करते हैं क्या?" I said, "वो क्या होता है?" Because title, keyword, description change कर देंगे. And that did a magic to our business. And suddenly there were so many walk-ins. We stopped all the different ways of advertising, and that helped me understand that we need a system of generating fresh leads for a business. And so this insight itself helped me to really come up with this idea of digitalization of especially marketing activities.
I see. Very interesting. So when I was listening into you, I would see the evolution from a Kutchi Gujarati family in Akola being disorganized And I could hear the cash register ringing.
Yeah.
When you said paisa itna galle mein aa raha tha, with the office in Element Point, the flat in Prabhadevi, and all the luxury and what have you. And the youngster in you were probably in college at that time.
Yeah. So I had dropped out from my engineering.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did dropping out of engineering help you engineer the course of your life? Has that helped you?
Yeah, definitely. So I call myself sometimes a marketing engineer.
I see.
So engineering is all about logic. And though I did not understand the logic of becoming an engineer or studying engineering, but I understood that, marketing can be a set process. We can have leads coming in and day out if we set the right process. And especially in this internet age, it's very easily possible.
So has that also shaped you, Piyush, as a gentleman who's polished, who's suave, you have a flair? Has this happened in this journey of being disorganized, but grappling with the iron and the steel and the metal syndrome, to the Merrill Lynch of getting into, you were doing a lot of presentations and a lot of looking good templates, if you can call it that way, for the corporate presentations. That flow and the fact that you wanted to make sure that process-driven is the way business life and personal life should be, has it also polished you as a person in terms of your demeanor, communication? Has it, without knowing, played a role?
Yeah, so I take it as a compliment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Polished in communication. But what happened is, though I have not completed my graduation, I was blessed to first get a break to work with the best of equity research analysts in JP Morgan. So it was ICICI JP Morgan associate called ICICI Securities. And we had the best of IIM Ahmedabad graduates working. Our boss was Andrew McCormack, who immediately sent us to London JP Morgan office to learn how presentations are done. And yes, somewhere you're right, Suresh, that working with the best of investment bankers in a structured form, in a corporate culture, has really shaped up to be effective in maybe communication, to make sure that understand the importance of communication and being proactive, listening carefully, and all that. That has helped me to not only be productive, but come across also as a person who speaks softly.
Wow, really appreciate softly and effectively. I mean, a lot of times softly would mean it's not effective, but you speak so effectively, so fluently. I'm not saying this because we're on camera.
Right.
That's something which I've always felt about, but I thought I will say this today live on air because I don't want to keep it away to both of us. I want the world to know the secret. So it's been amazing, Piyush, the Akola rustic wannabe entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
And then getting into Akola to London, if you can call.
Right.
You dropped out of college and then seems like life dropped in for you.
Yeah.
Of making you polished and processed. And as you went along, you mentioned about the English-speaking business that you set.
Right.
And I also know that you did not close the business, but you actually handed over the business.
Right.
And I still can't believe it when you told me when we were preparing for the conversation that you did 7.5 lakh students, participants you have trained.
Right. Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Like in lakhs would mean like 5 zeros.
Yeah.
After 7.5.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's the kind of thing. And you remember the first student, Vishal, you mentioned.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm sure maybe if he's listening in, I'm sure he would be proud that he was mentioned, but you remember that first thing already. So that entire training that you set up, was it like one institute? Was it offline, online? How did you manage this entire business?
Yeah. So let me share this in a chronological order. As I said, I was reading, so in 2004, just before 2004, I was reading a lot of books, from The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari to 7 Habits to, Think and Grow Rich. I read many books, but Robert Kiyosaki's book called Rich Dad Poor Dad had a major impact in me that, the fear of, I always had a dream to start my own business, but there was a fear that I could break through that fear and think of starting a business. And what I could see very easily in Merrill Lynch is that most of the experts, domain experts, and especially in back office, would not get the well-deserved promotion. A lot of my friends from schools and colleges, though they were much more educated than me, could not crack interviews. And the primary reason was that they were not speaking fluent English, or they were not effective communicators. So to add fuel to fire, in 2004, I researched on Wikipedia, and I realized that only 7% of Indians speak grammatically correct and fluent English. So I made up my mind that even if I can train 1% of Indians, which comes to a very conservative 1 crore Indians, I could make a major impact. And that time, English training business was not a very organized business. It was just an additional business in computer classes. So I left my job in 2004, set up an English speaking class with a brand called BM English Speaking. And yes, as you rightly said, all in Mumbai. We did in-house corporate trainings in more than 250 plus large corporates, including Cipla, Godrej, to name a few. And we trained more than 250 plus spoken English trainers. So this business taught me a lot, So let me tell you the first lesson that I learned. You were talking about Vishal Agrahari. In my first batch, my first student where I was teaching directly, Vishal Agrahari comes to me, and thanks Vishal if you're watching this. He comes to me and says that, sir, अपना business में तो रोज नया customer लाना पड़ेगा. So ये मुंबई मिरर का ads, ये pamphlets, ये सब कब तक काम करेगा? So I said, then क्या कर सकते हैं? He says, can I make a website for you? So he made a 4-page website. After 2 months, he comes and says, sir, इसका SEO करते हैं क्या? So वो क्या होता है? Now in 2004, SEO was not heard of at all. I said, yeah, कर देते हैं. तो क्या होता है वो? कुछ नहीं, टाइटल कीवर्ड डिस्क्रिप्शन चेंज करेंगे तो अपना गूगल का ट्रैफिक बहुत आ जाएगा. That time traffic on Yahoo was going down and Google was picking up. So he did that, and suddenly there was a breakthrough and a miracle. We got so many walk-ins. We stopped running ads in Mumbai Mirror and hoardings, banners, and everything. And we were forced to open another center in Andheri, another in Thane, another in Dadar, another in Borivali and Malad. So one after other things followed, and I realized the importance of marketing automation, and especially in this internet age, the importance of generating fresh leads using internet is what this business has taught me.
Very interesting. So when you lay down that chronology, I still am trying to position that Iron Man becoming this soft man. In terms of soft-spokenness and digital, okay, but I will probably, knowing you, unraveling and being unplugged is such a pleasure, Piyush. Thank you for being such an open-minded entrepreneur and opening up the doors for so many. When you said what you said now, believe it or not, it's going to open up the doors for so many of us watching this podcast in terms of what is possible. And I'm sure you would owe it to that one thing which you mentioned, that if it's process, it's going to open up a lot of opportunities. That's exactly what Piyush mentioned. And by the way, I'm also speaking to not only the AutoPilot Piyush, I'm going to tell you why I'm saying AutoPilot again and again, but I want to speak to the author of Piyush.
Right.
You said about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki.
Right.
The Fourth Quadrant is one such book which I relate to. Yeah. And of course, you mentioned about the monk who sold his Ferrari by Robert Sharma and all of that. But you wrote a book.
Yeah.
And the Prime Minister's office and Mr. Narayana Murthy said, wow.
Yeah.
Is it correct?
Yeah.
What was that dream book about?
So first of all, Suresh, thanks for, mentioning that. So first of all, what happened is, after around 8-9 years in business, I got to know that Neeraj Shah had started business coaching, and where he was training people on how to set up business on AutoPilot. And I was this person who's in charge of 5 training centers in Mumbai, daily troubleshooting, 55 team members, 22 trainers. And I was always firefighting, troubleshooting, frustrated. And here there was a ray of hope that Titan Masterminds would train me on how to set this business on AutoPilot so that it runs very smoothly without me. And I immediately jumped into his first batch. I was his first participant. And in 3 to 4 months, he helped me set up process for each and every department. So for finance, for accounts, for marketing, for training, for operations, for all the departments, I had processes set, and there was a structure in which meetings would be conducted, performance would be measured, recruitment would be done. And I was so much free, and I went to Neeraj and I said, Neeraj, I'm completely free now. And it's a 1-year course. It's a 1-year course. What do I do?
Right.
So he said, what do you want to really dream to do? I said, business is also growing. This business grew a multifold. So he said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to publish a book. He said, on what topic? I said, get your dream job. So he said, wonderful. and I ended up publishing this book, which went on to become Amazon bestseller.
Oh, I see. It's called Get Your Dream Job.
Yeah.
It's there on Amazon. And
Yeah. It's a step-by-step guide.
I see.
Again, it's a process of how one should prepare for an interview, till from the start of looking at the ad to following up on, the final part of the interview. So that's a step-by-step process, and this book is there, of course, on Amazon. And the letter from Prime Minister really inspired that, I was on the right path. At the same time, Suresh, what it also helped me realize that setting up business on autopilot is so important, that I've observed one thing. So I've realized that, when we all start business, we are very excited. We are in love with the business. We are very passionate. Business is fun. Business is joy. Business is, excitement. But over a period of time, on an average, I know after 5 years, business is all about troubleshooting, firefighting, talking to vendors, following up on payment,
reacting.
And but once, if the founder of the company makes his or her mind and sets up processes and builds a culture around the processes, these are the two main tasks to be done. Once that is done, with the help of a coach, with the help individually looking at books, reading, watching videos, if one is able to do that, then the business can not only function on its own, it can also be scaled up very rapidly. And so that really helped me. And during lockdown,
Right.
I ended up helping a lot of entrepreneurs on various aspects of, especially on marketing automation. And what happened is, in the 20 years, so I started in 2004, by 2022, the business had become a brand. And I said I wanted to choose, not to really run this operations business, and I could actually hand over the entire business to somebody else. And
So a running, thriving business got handed over, and the value that you gave in was much more than the value that you would have got in monetary terms.
Absolutely.
But that's exactly what we did. And it's running now as smooth as
Let me also add, it is running, it is profitable.
Right.
Last 20 years, it has been profitable business, which, I could hand over.
Wow.
And I think it's possible for any business owner who makes up his or her mind to do that. And that's what has been a great, learning and sense of accomplishment when it comes to, learning from, from the frustrations an individual as a boy I observed in a family business, of a disorganized business, to learning from the importance of being part of processes and following the process, to setting up a process in our business. Has been a really great, learning journey.
I understand. It also opens up the mind. Because when Piyush mentioned about the disorganized business, by the way, was very profitable. Money was coming in. But the youngster then also felt frustrated. It's so important for human beings to feel organized, right? Even though the disorganized business was making such an amount of money, it was very profitable. But when you make profits out of an organized way, then I think there is meaning in entrepreneurship, right? Is that what comes into play?
Yeah, that's why it's called an organization.
Organization. Wow. As simple as that. Softly put, but with big dhamaka. Thank you very much. You mentioned about marketing as I went on.
Yeah.
I also saw you transiting from the brick and mortar business into the digital land, and you also mentioned about process. And I also know for a fact that you are a LinkedIn expert, LinkedIn coach, if you may. Is that the processes that we spoke about, digitalization spoke about, as to got a lot to do with social media and less to do with process in the company? Is it that social media and website and digital presence is the key for organizations to flourish? Or is it that it's a good thing to have, but not that that's the only thing to have? Is there a difference between process within an organization and the digital external social media process for marketing?
Yeah. So if you see, I am helping more than 18 entrepreneurs to set up the business on AutoPilot. And somebody is into manufacturing, somebody is into service, somebody is into many different international export business. Now, if you see, as a business coach, each business coach has its own flavor. And though I have an expertise in setting up all the departments on, setting up processes and helping the business owner build a culture around the entire process for each department, which ideally takes anything between 6 to 12 months. I have an edge when it comes to setting up, marketing on autopilot. And, in these days, 2 years back, I've always taken that first mover advantage when it comes to, automating the marketing process. So setting up SEO in 2004, to setting up a YouTube channel in 2008 and having 1 lakh subscribers that time, to setting up podcast around 10 years back. I've always been taking that first mover advantage. And 2 years back, I realized that LinkedIn is a platform where business to business leads can be generated just by regular posting and using this platform effectively. So I ended up learning how to be a LinkedIn coach.
Right.
And currently I'm helping more than 12 entrepreneurs on how they can use LinkedIn and LinkedIn on autopilot, which is actually marketing on autopilot, so that they only don't depend. As I earlier also said, what happens is most of the business owners, when you ask them, they'll say that 95% of the leads that are generated are from references. They're always depending on references. And when I ask them, do you have a system to generate leads? And they say no. And LinkedIn is one platform where it can help. It can help any business owner who is into B2B business set up a whole system to generate leads, free of cost, because it's just all about content marketing.
It's just they're capturing the cyber world.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this. So you mentioned about autopilot, and viewers, that's exactly why I used to call Piyush Autopilot. Here is it finally unveiling the Entrepreneur Unplugged, the Autopilot Piyush Bhatia. So when you talk of autopilot, somewhere there does an entrepreneur feel autopilot when you say, I will lose control of my business? Is that a worry that you have seen within the business or the entrepreneur community, whether it's products or services or what have you, have multiple entrepreneurs? Is there a fear or rather apprehension that the autopilot, will I lose control or touch of my business? Is that somewhere there?
The answer is yes, because if somebody thinks of it immediately, it may be yes. But let me share with you in the form of a case study. I have a manufacturing business owner who has 50 plus team members. And when he made up his mind to set up his business on autopilot, so he had the same primary concern that I'm signing checks right now. I'm looking at each and every employee's salary. I'm looking at each and every part of production. I'm looking at client relations. But I would ask this entrepreneur that, how is your life? He says, I have blood pressure. I have sleepless nights for, weeks and months. I've not gone on a holiday. I'm not spending time with my family. So if you see, there's no match between, business, what is happening,
and the quality of life.
Quality of life an entrepreneur is living. And he said, I used to think that this is how all entrepreneurs live. And somehow I got to know that, business can run on its own, and a business owner has the right to sleep well every night.
It's okay to sleep well.
It's okay to sleep well.
Yeah.
It's okay to take long vacations. It's okay to withdraw salary. A lot of business owners don't withdraw salary as well. So if we see all in all, this business owner was concerned only about the control that he has. What we did is we set up processes. It's not that, you signing check will ensure that everything is going right. But there are ways and means to make sure that there are checks and balances for everything. And we set up processes. It definitely takes time. That writing down a process may take 1 or 2 days. But setting up a culture and building an entire culture and habit around that process takes time. But it's very much easily possible. Suresh, you'll agree that a lot of corporates, all the corporates work on completely on processes, and they're process-driven organization and they function effectively. So yes, that initial concern is there, but it can be resolved. And any other concern that is there, which a business owner thinks that if I set it up on autopilot or if I give it to my employees, it will not work. All that can be resolved. And I have a first-hand experience of doing that yourself. So I think, that gives me that edge to help entrepreneurs.
So I'm going to call Piyush the Buddha entrepreneur. I saw the peacefulness. You mentioned about process being there in corporates, Piyush, when you mentioned.
Yeah.
But the process in corporates does not add to life being sorted.
Right.
It leads to life becoming more and more anxious.
Right.
Whether it's in the United States or in India, you see so many examples of corporate executives at whichever level feeling absolutely hassled on a work day. Those processes are there.
Right.
So what is important in entrepreneurship, I'm learning from you, Piyush, as you get unplugged, is that the process in terms of implementing in your businesses and having the intent to have a quality life, being the master of your own journey is exactly the essential entrepreneurship journey which we can get. I'm sure soon I would request you on behalf of all the audience to write a book called Get Your Dream Enterprise. Because I don't think people want to get jobs right now. They want to create jobs, and want to be peaceful at that. So thank you for that perspective. Thank you for being a Buddha entrepreneur coach. Is that a good way of defining you? Does it resonate with you?
Yeah, very much.
Because you want to give also tranquility and peace apart from process.
Yeah, so I like the word Buddha that you added because I practice Vipassana since last 16 years.
So I was not aware of this, guys, but I got it out of you. You could see that because it's important thing is the process leading to, I think the coolness, the nice posture is also so important. That's exactly what they manifest. I'm sure all of those 12 entrepreneurs to whom you're being such a master coach will also not do well in their business, but they also would do well in having a qualitative life. I'm sure about that.
Yeah. So I'll just add a little bit if you may.
Please.
If I may.
Yeah.
So, Suresh, I'm really blessed. I've worked in corporates. I've done enough. And I'm working with growing, SMEs. So that is the right time to set the right culture where the founder or the co-founders have that empathy for their employees and team members.
Yeah, wow.
That's a very right thing. Yeah. A couple of them have got listed on stock exchange as well. But, as we grow, a founder may tend to, forget that, the employees also have their own life, personal life. But it's good that at the scaling up stage and before scaling up, an entrepreneur sets in on AutoPilot and also takes care and embeds the whole, empathy for employees, team members, and for the management in the growth and culture of an organization.
Oh, fantastic. That is like the highlight of this talk, that you saying that chain reaction of putting process is also going to create employees as a equal, almost appropriate, equanimous stakeholder in the happiness quotient of the organization.
Absolutely.
And the growth. That's an amazing impact. I'm so happy that you mentioned that because that's like the beginning of all things good. Because a lot of times the kind of suffering that, if I can use the word, a lot of dignity employees go through is unimaginable. And entrepreneurs also feel they can't do anything about it. Sometimes they show they're helpless. But being process-oriented would help both the entrepreneurs and the employees to have a process-filled, posture-filled, quality life, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Piyush. Sometimes as we had this conversation, you mentioned about referrals. You mentioned about getting more and more from, people referring each other. How much has networking or does networking play a role in your day-to-day life? Is networking with other entrepreneurs, other collaborative prospects, is it essential to network for an entrepreneur?
Absolutely, Suresh. So if I'm running a, let's say, education business or a manufacturing business or any other business, restaurant business, I can't completely depend on just my customers referring customers, right? There's a whole different world out there. I'm also part of a world's best business networking organization called BNN, where since last 8+ years, where entrepreneurs meet entrepreneurs. And suddenly what I could see is I could think out of the box in my English training business, that it's not only about retail business. I could, tap into, other entrepreneurs, corporate contacts, and do a lot of corporate business. I could tie up with schools, colleges, and set up English training centers there. So there's a whole world out there which is waiting for you to collaborate or, work with you. If you're providing quality services, I think business networking and networking with business owners who are ambitious, definitely networking plays a very important role.
Absolutely. When you said BNI, it said it all, right? It opened up the entire gates of what networking can do in a structured form.
Right.
So really, really appreciate Piyush for being such a lucid and a fluent speaker in terms of communicating your vision and your dream. A lot of times we find entrepreneurs who speak with pumped hands and thumped desks about what they've achieved, but you've done it so smoothly from that Iron Man, if I can call it, disorganized, to somebody who is changing the way entrepreneurs can treat their employees, entrepreneurs can treat their businesses, and it's been one smooth journey. And it's something which I think is, I want to leave this show by saying I came in to meet an unplug entrepreneur who is unplugging other entrepreneurs. But what I realize right now, here is a AutoPilot coach, if we can use that, who is actually enlightening and casting enlightenment on so many entrepreneurs. And it's a chain reaction which we see in the landscape in the Indian entrepreneur space, which is going to significantly impact the quality of life all around us. Thank you, Piyush, for being such a sport, being there on the show. Really value your thoughts, your perspectives, and the time that we spent together. Congratulations for whatever you're doing, and wishing you power, grace, and even more power to spread enlightenment. Thank you, Piyush.
Thank you, Suresh, for inviting me. Thank you very much.
God bless.